Precisely what you've read in the thumbnail. In many regards, I would say Shadow the Hedgehog's story is one of the worst in the entire Sonic franchise. But not for the reasons you may think. On the other hand, I think it's a phenomenal exploration of Shadow's psyche and how much of a complex, multifaceted character he is compared to the rest of the Sonic roster. Hello, I'm the Gringo, and today I'll be continuing my two-part analysis on Shadow the Hedgehog. Last video, I made my review on the gameplay of Shadow the Hedgehog Reloaded, a mod for Shadow the Hedgehog. Now, I'll be reviewing its story. In case you want to watch the first analysis before this one, I'll leave the link in the top right corner of the video and the description as well. But let's get straight to the point, shall we? Without further ado, let's begin with a single question. Like I said in my previous analysis, you progress in Shadow the Hedgehog through a grid of levels based on a pseudo-moral system. But why pseudo-moral, you may ask? We'll get there in just a moment. Navigation on the grid moves you like this. Every stage, regardless of the mission you did, moves you horizontally until you get to stage 6. Dark missions move you upwards, normal missions keep your position, and hero missions move you downwards. But it doesn't always work like this. These are the exceptions. The Dark mission for Digital Circuit, Central City, and the Arc keep your vertical position because they're already in the evilest route at that moment. And the hero missions for Lethal Highway, Death Ruins, and Lost Impact do the same because they're the most heroic routes at that moment. The Arc's normal mission moves you downwards in the grid, and Lost Impacts move you upwards. Each line you see in the grid represents an alignment route, from the evilest to the most heroic. First line is the pure dark route, second is semi-dark, third is neutral, fourth is semi-hero, fifth is pure hero. I'll go in depth about each one in the following chapters. You have total control in how you proceed through the grid. You can choose to stay in the semi-dark alignment for the rest of your playthrough, stay completely neutral until Iron Jungle by doing its hero mission, thus ending up in Cosmic Fall, go pure hero and randomly decide you want to spite Sonic. The possibilities are endless. After completing the Dark or Hero mission on any of the Stage 6 roster, you will face a final boss, based on which mission you did. Depending on the stage, they could either be Sonic and Diablon, the Egg Dealer, or Black Doom. Defeating them will trigger a unique ending, depending on the level and the mission you've done so. And that's the basics of the story. Now, if each line you stay on represents your morality during your gameplay, why is it practically a pseudo-moral system? Well, let's talk about Shadow the Hedgehog's morality system was used to provide an interactive way for players to navigate through Shadow's complex psyche. And at replay value, of course. For that, they formulated a grid system, and offered a total of 326 possible paths to do so. This system has the benefit of giving the player numerous headcanons to execute, giving their own spin on Shadow every single gameplay and story mode. But giving a player that much diversity of paths had its consequences, because, shocker, it's really difficult to implement lasting consequences of actions when you have 326 possible gameplay routes. The only level where the game truly acknowledges your actions is in Unstoppables, because we can notice a clear transition of the consequences of what you did in that level, leading you to Digital Circuit, Glyphic Canyon, or Lethal Highway. From this point afterwards, things just happen. The only thing that we as the player can notice is how Shadow's deciding to make his search for the truth. But the story stops acknowledging any interactions, actions, and inactions of Shadow. Every event in the game becomes static regardless of the previous events you went through, no matter how big or small. saved Central City from getting exploded? Don't worry, Black Doom still got your back. Destroyed Eggman's database in Mad Matrix by aiding Black Doom? Well, Eggman doesn't seem to care about losing his precious data. And if you wound up in Cosmic Fall, Vector doesn't either. Started out helping Black Doom, then decided to turn back against him? Sonic and friends won't give a damn about it. So, to put it bluntly, static events make so none of your actions have any consequence after Restopolis. Things move forward only in Shadow's point of view and nothing else. Yes, this is obviously lame in terms of storytelling, but it leaves room for the players to headcanon whatever happens next. Far from the greatest thing ever, but it's the best option we have to make any of the 326 storylines work. Talking about storylines, you know by this point that there are innumerable ways to make a dark, neutral, or hero playthrough. My take on it is basically this. Depending on which line of the grid you decide to stay, is basically what Shadow's current state of mind is, and who he's mostly relying with to find the truth. So, I'll deep dive in each line of the grid in this thought process. Starting with
No more gods, no more graves. Are you friend or fiend? No more life, no more death. Somewhere in between.
the Black Arms invade Earth, and Black Doom finds an amnesiac Shadow to inform him that he needs to find the 7 Chaos Emeralds for him. Shadow, although skeptical, trusts that Black Doom will reveal the truth to him by doing so, and decides to work for him, sooner or later. Eventually, in this path, Shadow not only believes that Black Doom is the one who really knows the truth, but buys wholeheartedly in his manipulation. He develops a burning hatred for humanity and every suffering they have brought upon his life. Eventually, Shadow winds up in Gun Fortress after finally deciding he's going to punish humanity for their sins. He can decide to accompany Doomsday to completely obliterate Gun's defenses, facing and defeating Sonic and Diablon, who were determined to stop his rampage at all costs, and moving to raise the entire planet with the 7 Chaos Emeralds. Or, Shadow makes the choice to take all the power for himself, helping Rouge to find and protect the Chaos Emerald, confronting a frustrated and betrayed Black Doom, who Shadow tells that,
Yeah, well, I told you. No one tells me what to do. I need these emeralds to uncover the truth about my past.
Shadow defeats him and uses the Chaos Emeralds to conquer the universe. This path is basically first act as a true Shadow incarnate, but double down. Shadow not only wants revenge, but gets so hateful of humanity that he becomes alienated by it. You can notice that especially in Central City and the Ark's cutscenes.
Shadow, let me share with you a piece of your past. It's filled with nothing but hatred and contempt for the humans.
Hatred and contempt for the humans.
You were the ultimate life form, but the humans feared you and wanted to destroy you. And they did. It's time to make all final preparations for our ritual. Hidden inside that space colony Ark is the most powerful weapon, able to pierce stars. The Eclipse Cannon.
Piercing the stars.
That's right.
Shadow actually gets so deep in darkness that he ends up becoming a hindrance to Black Doom. If Shadow decides to destroy the planet, well, there will be nowhere for the Black Arms to conquer. If he betrays Black Doom, I assume he would take control of the Black Arms or wipe them out entirely, making an evil power move regardless. Either way, Black Doom's enticement gets so effective on Shadow that he basically becomes a demon. Whether Shadow decides to raise the world to the ground or become a space tyrant, he truly is almost dead.
Almost dead!
In this path, Shadow decides to trust Black Doom to find the truth, but be somewhat independent during his search for the emeralds. Black Doom still makes an effort to entice Shadow to unleash his hatred on humanity, and he'll face temptation along the way. His goal here is to mostly rely on Black Doom to find out the truth, and that's it. Shadow doesn't get completely consumed by his hate, but it still taints him to some degree. Eventually, Shadow is called by Black Doom to fend off the gun soldiers in the Black Comet, and thus begins the moment of truth. Shadow can follow Doom's eye and decide to wipe out the gun soldiers from the comet, and face off against Sonic and Diablon, who were willing to stop his defense at all costs. After defeating them, Shadow declares his allegiance and servitude to Black Doom. Or, he'll decide to help Knuckles get to the center of the Black Comet and nab the Chaos Emerald, and face Eggman, his egg dealer, who is impressed by Shadow's efforts in grabbing the emeralds and demands that he gives them to him. Shadow rejects, defeats Eggman, declares that no one can tell him what to do, thus becoming a chaotic and rebellious anti-villain, and finishes him off. The semi-dark path is really fascinating, because although Shadow is villainous in this path, but not as drastically as the pure dark path, the two endings here really contrast one another. In the semi-dark one, Shadow decides to completely give himself in to Black Doom, becoming his dark servant and right-hand man. While in the semi-dark hero ending, he decides
I and only I know what is best. No one can tell me what to do.
and go his own path. So, the choice here is either evil servitude or rebellion. The latter feels more heroic, but you have to remember that the way Shadow got here is by necessarily doing one or more dark missions before Black Comet, giving the, like I said previously, chaotic and rebellious anti-villain nature of it. The path feels very simple, but has some depth behind it if you think about it. Whether Shadow decides to become a devil soldier or a volatile agent of chaos, he has truly become broken.
Couldn't walk away from something broken. Tried to find a way to make it good again. Only you can make a difference, darling.
Here, Shadow decides to rely on himself and himself only to find the Chaos Emeralds and search for the truth. He may use the heroes or even Black Doom to get help in finding the emeralds, but Shadow does this solely to his own ends, or after regretting staying on the dark or hero side. Eventually, Shadow comes around the idea that he's an android built by Dr. Eggman, and that the original Shadow died after saving Earth Sonic against Final Hazard. Coming to this realization, Shadow detaches himself from the Gun vs. Black Arms conflict and decides he's going to take revenge against Eggman for denying his eternal rest, going to his lava shelter base. Getting there, he'll decide to help Dr. Eggman activate his defense mechanisms to rise the magma level, impeding Gun's advance on the base. Eggman praises Shadow Android's efforts and demands him to deliver the Chaos Emeralds. But it was all a ruse. He was just trapping him so he could defeat him himself. And that's exactly what Shadow does. He destroys the Egg Dealer, declares he'll become an android superior to the original Shadow, and finishes off the Doctor. Or Shadow will decide to rampage through with Omega and nab the Chaos Emerald, face off against Eggman, who is impressed by their efforts, and together they defeat his Egg Dealer, and Shadow declares that he'll take control of the Eggman Empire and make a rule of androids. Then finishes him off. This path is really interesting because there's a great abundance of ways Shadow can end up in Lava Shelter. And it's funny that, although not as evil as the previously mentioned paths, Shadow becomes totally delusional here. It is mostly centered around Eggman in one way or another. And its endings honestly feel like an enigma. The neutral dark ending feels more heroic than its counterpart, since it's Shadow deciding he'll become stronger than his original self, but it could be interpreted in another way, considering that you thwarted Gun's advance on Eggman's base. The same goes for the neutral hero ending. Although Shadow takes a more heroic approach going alongside Omega and not stopping Gun at Eggman's request, he still decided to make a power move, and it's debatable what Shadow could possibly do by taking control of the Eggman Empire. Regardless, you can go crazy with your neutral path headcanons. That's nice, I suppose. Whether Shadow decides he'll become a better self as an android, or a machine empire ruler, he truly is
Waking up, breaking out. This is what it's like to be brave. Rip it up, tear it down. This is what it means to be brave. Waking up, breaking out. This is what it's like to be brave. Rip it up, tear it down. This is what it means to be brave.
In this path, Shadow mostly rejects Black Doom, aligning himself with the heroes, but staying somewhat independent. He needs Black Doom to find the truth, but he's not completely blind or indifferent to the destruction he's causing. Shadow goes through many situations that put himself in conflict with what his past actually was, leading to confusion and self-doubt. Eventually, he wounds up inside the Ark by Chaos Control, where he's frustrated with everything he's gathered so far, and is confronted by Abraham Tower, the gun commander, who Shadow doesn't recognize. The commander reveals that he saw Shadow's creation by Professor Gerald Robotnik and Black Doom long ago, and how everything was taken from him because of Shadow, thus explaining his burning hatred for him. The commander tries to serve justice by executing him, fails, and Shadow appears behind him, saying that,
If what you say is true, then I will respectfully accept my fate.
You mean to tell me that you really don't remember a thing?
But I just need some time to uncover the real truth.
Then, Shadow rushes to a decaying Ark, where he chooses to help Black Doom find the Chaos Emerald, facing Eggman, who is willing to stop Shadow in defiling his grandfather's legacy. Shadow says,
Doctor,
What?
this is something I must do on my own. I must uncover the truth. I made a promise to all the victims aboard the Ark.
This is nonsense! You will obey me, or there will be dire consequences.
So they face off, Shadow defeats him, decides to become the protector of the Ark, declares he's the living proof of the ultimate life form, and spares the Doctor, conditioning him to never come back to the Sacred Ark. Or, Shadow can find Vector along the way and decide to help him find the computer room, thus doing so. They are confronted by Black Doom, where he questions Shadow about his defiance. Shadow asks him about his past, and Black Doom confirms the commander's claims.
I need to know.
It is true. I created you. You are a part of me.
Hey, Shadow! You okay?
If that's true, then I'll have to accept my responsibilities for my crimes. I will avenge the victims who died aboard the Ark on that tragic day.
The humans seem to have convinced you with this absurdity. Therefore, I have no choice but to kill you too.
Shadow decides he's going to atone for his actions, defeats Black Doom, and comes to the conclusion that he's a horrible experiment that should have never been created. Vector tries to console him, but it seems to no avail, and Shadow moves away to, apparently, give himself in to Gun, seclude himself inside the Ark, or worse. This path has lots of melancholy in it. The endings contrast one another here similarly to the semi-dark path. Either Shadow prides himself as Gerald Robotnik's creation and a preserver of his legacy, or drowns himself in remorse due to his monstrous nature and the trail of destruction his creation left behind, leaving his fate to the unknown. I believe it's easily one of the best paths in the game, as no matter how you get here, every semi-hero playthrough feels profound, and offers that one interaction between Shadow and the Commander outside of the Sonic and Diablo boss fight, that honestly should have been more frequent in this game. And both the endings offer a very beautiful and compelling story. The semi-hero dark ending, though, is pretty fascinating, because it can be seen at an entirely different angle, and it leaves a loose end for us. More on that soon. Anyways, lots of sad in this path, but it's one of the best. Whether Shadow decides he'll become the protector of the Ark, or fulfill atonement for his actions, he truly is the chosen one.
You made me, and I love you, but I can't change the things I've done. I'm the chosen one. Which I may, which I might be someone else tonight. Sometimes I wish I was never born at all. And I'll try to save the world, but in the end I know I'm the chosen one. The chosen one. All hail Shadow, heroes rise again, obliterating everything that's not your friend. Nothing can stop you now, no ghost to bring you down. When there's nothing left to lose, you win.
Here, Shadow decides he's not going to pull up with Black Doom's schemes, and sooner or later, fiercely opposes him, siding mostly with the heroes. Since Shadow is not going to trust Black Doom in finding out the truth, he is going to rely on the Chaos Emeralds and the heroes' help to find them only. Eventually, Shadow remembers Maria's dying wish to him, and comes to realize his true purpose as Earth's protector. He ends up in the Ark with Sonic, where both look up and find the Black Comet. Sonic tells him about it, and asks Shadow if he thinks it's connected with the Black Creatures. Shadow senses something about it, and agrees with Sonic, and they make their way to the comet. There, Shadow will ignore Sonic and meet up with Doom's Eye, where he'll tell him to activate the Black Comet's defenses and protect it from Gun. After doing so, Sonic and Diablo will confront Shadow, where Sonic questions him about why he's siding with the Black Aliens. Shadow replies that he's just siding with whoever goes up against him, and they both duel to see who's the strongest hedgehog. Shadow wins the duel against Sonic and Diablo, and declares,
I am the most powerful hedgehog in the world! The power of these emeralds makes me invincible. I am the ultimate hedgehog. This is who I am.
he probably moves to defeat Black Doom alone afterwards. Probably. Or, Shadow will decide to continue accompanying Sonic inside the Black Comet, rampaging through against the Black Arms together, and ultimately finding the Chaos Emerald and Black Doom himself. Confronting him, he says that he is impressed Shadow has made it this far. Shadow and Sonic tell him,
Black Doom, your rule ends here, and it ends now.
So you're behind all this. Like it or not, the game's over.
Black Doom rambles about his superiority, but Shadow's not intimidated, and says he will fulfill his promise to Maria. Shadow and Sonic fight Black Doom, defeat him, and Shadow declares that he made a promise that he intends to keep, and that the Black Arms are now finished, thus honoring Maria's dying wish. This path is as heroic as you can get. Shadow's mind eventually finds itself at peace, as he gets to clearly remember Maria's last words and his true purpose to mankind. That remains true in the pure hero ending, as he moves to obliterate the Black Arms, but Shadow has the option to be a douche and help Black Doom activate the Black Comet's defenses, leading to a fight against Sonic and Diablo just so Shadow can spite Sonic and prove himself superior, prompting the pure hero dark ending. This one is so bad that it ends up being hilarious, honestly. Regardless, Shadow becomes a full-blown hero in this path. It's a bit cheesy, but I'm a big fan of full-blown heroism, so overall, I enjoy it. Whether Shadow decides to become the ultimate hero hedgehog, or decide only to remain true to his promise to Maria, all will hail Shadow. Well, that's all for Shadow the Hedgehog's story. I think it's very clear that the most heroic path is the canon one, so we can all call it a day and leave. Oh.
Fuck.
Damn you! No! It's not true!
Well, let's talk about. We see Shadow inside the Black Comet with all the Chaos Emeralds in his possession. He is now ready to find the truth. All of it. Then, Black Doom emerges from the ground and demands Shadow to deliver him the emeralds. He pauses, and, suddenly, Sonic and his friends appear and demand they deliver the emeralds to them instead, urging him not to give them to Black Doom. Then, Black Doom elaborates his true plan for mankind, and suddenly takes all the Chaos Emeralds. He proceeds to Chaos Control the Black Comet to the Earth's surface, and reveals to Shadow his true origin. Black Doom explains that he worked with Professor Gerald Robotnik to develop the Ultimate Life Force. They made a deal. He would help Gerald to do so, and in return, he would get the 7 Chaos Emeralds. Shadow gets stunned in disbelief, while Eggman gets shocked at the sheer absurdity of the plan. Sonic and Knuckles ready themselves to take action, then, suddenly, a toxic gas summoned by Black Doom stuns them all, and he orders his larvae to consume the savory dishes. Shadow's memories of his adventure to gather the emeralds starts to flash on him. and just when he hears Maria's voice, he breaks free of his tunnel, resisting Black Doom's toxic gas. Shadow steps on one of the larvae, which surprises Black Doom. He's already made up his mind. Shadow says,
I've left the past behind me. No one can tell me what to do now. I will destroy you, Black Doom.
I gave you life, and this is how you repay me? The irony of it all is I gave you life. Now, I'll take it back.
Shadow! You're our only hope now.
Shadow follows him, rampaging through the Black Arms along the way, and eventually confronts him. Black Doom congratulates him and tries to bring him to his side again, but it is to no avail. Shadow has already made up his mind and will destroy him. Seeing no other option, Black Doom tells him that they share the same blood and proceeds to stun Shadow to the ground, telling him that he cannot escape him or his past. Hope seems lost, but fortunately, in the Ark, while the Chaotix were trying to access data from it, Charmy crashes into the computer, and a recording from Gerald Robotnik directed to Shadow starts transmitting to the Black Comet and the gun headquarters, where Gerald reveals it all. What he has done so Gunn decided to shut down his research facility, the Black Comet, the Eclipse Canon's purpose, and Shadow's true mission. Maria appears in the recording, saying that Shadow and her are going to protect the planet. The recording ends. Black Doom says that Gerald is a fool and that Shadow is already in his control. Just then, Black Doom gets surprised, as Shadow breaks free from his tunnel. Shadow is determined to honor his promise to Maria and finish Black Doom once and for all. He goes for a strike on him, but Doom chaos controls out of the comet and decides he'll end Shadow as well. Shadow manages to gather the emeralds back to him, transforms into Super Shadow, and goes up to the sky to face off against Devil Doom. After a grueling fight, Shadow defeats him and moves to the outside of the comet, where he chaos controls it to space. There, he activates the Eclipse Cannon and blows up the Black Comet, ending the Black Arms once and for all. Sonic and friends celebrate, while Eggman tries to sneak away, but to no avail, as Knuckles chases him right after. The Gun HQ celebrates as well, and the President and the Commander realize how wrong they were to mistrust Professor Gerald and Shadow. The President suggests they honor Professor Gerald by looking towards the future, and the Commander agrees. In the Ark, Shadow looks to the horizon, saying goodbye to his past, then moving away, leaving it behind forever. Until this game happened. Okay, this is honestly a pretty good conclusion to the story. But we need to address the elephant in the room here. How we got here? You know how the game answers this question? Yes! And that's it. It's a disaster. I'm pretty sure this game had some time constraints, but come on, was it that hard to make a compilation of canonical levels that could lead you to the last story? Or better insinuate what path Shadow took to get here in any shape or form? What was even the point of the morality system really? The last story leaves so many questions and answers so very little, it's infuriating. Sonic Team wanted a Shadow that players could headcanon to their heart's content, but at the same time wanted to preserve at all costs the story progression of the Dreamcast era. Oh no! We don't have enough time to make a canon path that leads you to the last story. Whoops! Good luck figuring it out for yourselves because Shadow acts in mysterious ways. What? Why not just make your
Damn.
mind? I'm completely unable to understand why Sonic Team overcomplicated things so much with this game's story. And it's very unfortunate that they refuse to explain what Shadow actually did to get to the last story. And it's doubtful they ever will. I think it's still a pretty good conclusion, but it is honestly mind-blowing that we cannot be absolutely sure of what Shadow did to get to the last story. But that doesn't mean we can't try, right? So, let's talk about... At the time this video has been released, there is no official canon path for Shadow the Hedgehog. Takashi Iizuka may have said once that the 326th path is the canon one, but let's be real, he just said that to shut down the topic immediately. Like he ever does that, huh? This path cannot possibly be canon because it contradicts presupposed events during it. So, what is presupposed in the last story in the first place? Let's go with what I gathered. First off, an obvious one, Shadow started out his journey with Stopless. Second, he recovers his memories as he gathers the Chaos Emeralds. Third, he aided Black Doom to some degree. Fourth, Shadow ended up in Iron Jungle, saw his android replicas and fought against Eggman, since he revealed to Shadow that he lied about him being an android and that he's the real one. Fifth, he does not kill Eggman whatsoever. Duh. Sixth, he met Commander Abraham Tower. And finally, 7th, all of the Black Arms invasions, the CIA's mainframe destruction, the Eggman Empire and Black Arms confrontation, the President's evacuation to the gun headquarters, and the Chaotix actions all happen regardless of Shadow's input. With that said, let's see how we can formulate a canon path. Number 1. Shadow obviously starts out in Westopolis. Any mission is plausible for him to do, but the normal one is the most likely. Number 2. Shadow is more likely to wound up next in Cryptic Castle or Prison Island than Circus Park. Number 3. Shadow ends up in either the Doom, Sky Troops or Mad Matrix, but more likely the first two. Number 4. Shadow in Iron Jungle is a must, so he either goes to it from the hero mission of the Doom, normal from Sky Troops, or dark from Mad Matrix. Number 5. The normal mission for Iron Jungle is completely unplausible, since he will be certain that he's an android, face off Eggman in Lava Shelter, and finishing him off. Neither the dark mission is plausible, and I'll explain in just a moment. The hero mission ends up being the only option left, and it leads Shadow to Cosmic Fall. Number 6. In Cosmic Fall, our only option is the Dark mission, since the Hero 1 prompts Shadow to defeat Black Doom and drown himself in remorse for his actions. Taking the Dark mission leads us to a fight against Eggman, and the only Egg Dealer boss fight where Shadow spares his life at the end. The ending would feel totally conclusive, if not for the fact that you helped Black Doom not long ago, and that he's nowhere to be found. Yet. Number 7. It's pretty safe to assume that Shadow felt or found out about the Black Comet, and used Chaos Control to get there. So, Cosmic Fall Dark takes the win for canon ending, Again. But remember I said that the Dark mission of Horizon Jungle was not plausible? A lot of you would probably think so, since it leads the player to the Black Comet, the exact place Shadow finds himself in the beginning of the last story. Obviously, the hero mission would not make sense since he finishes off Pugnam. But perhaps the Dark mission could? Yeah, that could be the case. If you will not consider the fact that the commander actually pilots the Ablon. It's not clear whether he does or not in the English dub, but in the cutscene before the beginning of Gun Fortress, in the Japanese dub, the commander explicitly states that he will board the map. I can't possibly imagine that after the commander gets defeated inside Diablon, he would be able to go back to the gun headquarters in time. So, unless Sonic Team decides to retcon this fact, neither of the boss fights in Black Comet are canon, thus making all Sonic and Diablon and Black Doom boss fights non-canon, as well as the Egg Dealer ones outside of Cosmic Fall. So again, we're only left with Cosmic Fall Dark. With all that established, what paths we can possibly think of? Well, if you consider Cream and the Commander's dialogue in Expert Mode canon, then Path 131, Ark Colony of Pathos, is a no-brainer. If you feel like the story should be more emotion than action-oriented, A Singular Atonement and Together with Maria are very interesting options. If you want a very volatile anti-hero Shadow, the Eternally Closed Door should be a very interesting option. Anyways, we still don't have a defined canon path, but hopefully those details should help everyone figure out what is the most probable canon path. Personally, I'm torn between Ark Colony of Pathos, Together with Maria, and Pure Ark. What are your thoughts? Leave it down in the comments. That all said, let's wrap it up with if it was up to me, the morality system would be totally out of question. To this day, I consider the story structure of Shadow the Hedgehog a complete disaster, not to mention the weird staticness of it. We absolutely have no idea of what is officially canon, apart of the first cutscene and the last story. It's mind-boggling that Sonic Team was so invested in the morality system that they left out the importance of an actual and cohesive story. I don't mind ambiguity or finding out mysteries in stories, but the player should never be obliged to figure out the plot and be left at that. It's like a rage-baiting puzzle game. Each path is its respective puzzle with its own pieces. And we have a main puzzle, the canon story, that already has some pieces, but forces us to choose one of the 326 puzzles, or build a Frankensteinian monster to complete it. And every time you use the pieces of these puzzles to complete the main one, it always feels like something's missing or feels off. It's maddening. Because although it is totally possible to build the main puzzle, it always ends up having something that feels missing or unsatisfying, and the author gives absolutely no clue on how to correctly build it. What a disaster. But what about the other puzzles? They have their flaws, of course, but allow your imagination to run wild in a deep dive of Shadow's psyche. You're given 32 pieces, and you're able to build 326 puzzles out of it. Some feel bizarre, others melancholic, many thrilling, and there are those that are outright funny because of how ridiculous they are. And it all works somehow? I spent hours playing just to headcanon Shadow doing this or doing that, always building a puzzle that, in one way or another, feels different from the previous one. And there comes the beauty of this game's story. Although many events feel static, it gives the player the opportunity to fill in the gaps in their own imagination, and every story you build gives you a different experience. You want a villainous Shadow that redeems himself in the end? Go for it. A hero that goes astray to fulfill revenge due to a delusion? Your call. You can be all. It does leave a bittersweet taste trying to figure out the true story for Shadow the Hedgehog, but it truly is a fascinating and weirdly satisfying experience exploring and giving life to many different iterations of what Shadow could be, deep diving into his profound and complex psyche. It's maddening. It's beautiful. It's Shadow the Hedgehog. I hope you enjoyed this video. Playing Shadow the Hedgehog Reloaded and seeing how easy it is to overthink about this game really got me hooked up on it. And I always feel like playing it every once in a while. If you enjoyed this video, of course, leave it a like, consider subscribing to the channel, and share it with a friend. Your help is truly appreciated. With that said, I'm done talking about Shadow the Hedgehog. I'll be seeing you soon. Bye-bye!
Where's that damn baby?
Tomorrow,
No! It's not fourth Chaos Emerald.